Today for the Bitcoin price with Carl from the moon. Guys, sit down and get ready for the video. Watch it all the way through, because what if I told you that there's one Bitcoin price prediction model which predicts a price of Bitcoin within the next 4 to 10 years of let me repeat, guys, 9 million US dollars. And what if I told you that according to this model, and also with the fundamental reasons for the price prediction, that this is not all too unrealistic? We will be telling you exactly where to find this model, how to understand it, and the exact prices it predicts in 1, 4, and 8 years for Bitcoin. We will be talking about all of that, about economics, about the monetary policy right now, and much, much more. It will be a juicy and jam-packed episode. But with that being said, guys, please scroll down, smash up the like button for that video. If you want more of these collaborations, I want to see at least 4,000 likes on that video. And with that being said, after this video, watch the collaboration over on his channel. But now I really want to come to the most important question of today. Carl from the moon, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing very, very well. How are you doing?
I'm also doing well, man. It's crazy times right now. I can't wait to talk about all these crazy price predictions and the reasons for that. All right, guys, so let's get straight into it. You might think that I'm crazy here with this title, with this price prediction, but yeah, today we will talk about this specific price model and why it actually is a realistic scenario. And I can't wait to talk with you about that, Carl, because I know that we share some specific insights in the market, in the economy, but maybe we start with something everyone knows before we go into this new price model, which is probably a very realistic scenario. And Carl, I know you talk about it a lot as well. It is the stock to flow model, of course. And the stock to flow model derives the Bitcoin price prediction from the scarcity, and it is denominated in US dollar. So maybe we give a very quick overview, and I also wanna say afterwards why I think it might be invalidated in a few years and why this other model might be much more accurate. Carl, first of all, what do you think about the stock to flow model? In my opinion, it is a very, very nice model so far, extremely accurate.
Yeah, so I think that it is undeniable that the stock to flow ratio model has held a lot of significance throughout the whole period of time where Bitcoin has been traded. We can see the last 11 years, the stock to flow ratio and the price have been directly correlated with each other, or even co-integrated, as Plan B himself calls it. And I think that we can see that the relationship between the stock and the flow not only is very significant for Bitcoin, but also for gold and silver and other assets around the world, and also for fiat currencies and actually anything. Basically, when the inflation is unpredictable and when the inflation is high compared to the already existing supply, then there won't be a lot of value in this asset, because you don't know how much you don't know the future supply very well. You cannot predict the future supply. That's why the dollar cannot be a good form of money, and it cannot hold value over time, because the inflation is so unreliable. It's so hard to predict, because basically it's up to a central authority whether they print or not print. But if you look at gold, for example, which has a much more predictable inflation, because it costs so much money to mine gold, it takes a lot of time and effort to mine gold, which means that you can predict the inflation of gold much more easily. You can also predict the future supply much more easily. The inflation is controlled. That's why gold has a lot of value and has held its value for thousands of years. And yeah, Bitcoin is a very, very interesting play, because not only does it have a very interesting stock to flow ratio model, but the interesting part is that Bitcoin is unique because it is the only asset in the whole world that eventually will have a 0% inflation. And 0% inflation basically means that, yeah, we have an absolute limit, an absolute scarcity, and it's the first time in human history that we ever saw that before. So you could say it's the most scarce asset on the planet, it's the most scarce asset in the galaxy, it's the most scarce thing that you can find, because it's created in a digital world, and it's only in a digital world where you can actually have an absolute limit, because you can put these cryptographic boundaries to it. But in the real world, look at gold. It is one of the most scarce assets on the planet because of what I just discussed, but you can always mine more gold, and you always have the small inflation in gold. And even the most rarest diamond in the world, you can always find another diamond somewhere. You can always put in the work to try to find more diamonds. And sometimes I give the example of Picasso paintings. Sure, we know that he's dead and he won't be able to make more Picasso paintings, but there is always this slight little chance that you might find another Picasso painting somewhere in his relative's house or wherever. Maybe it's a funny example and it doesn't really make too much sense, but it is actually, it actually does have one interesting point, and that's the fact that Bitcoin is actually the only asset where this cannot happen. Like, you cannot find any more Bitcoin anywhere. 21 million, that's the only that will ever exist, and that's why I think Bitcoin is going to do extremely well in the future.
Yeah, let me take this one step further. Once we are reaching the total supply or the maximum supply of 21 million Bitcoin, we will even have a deflationary circulating supply, since people are losing their access to their Bitcoin and so on. So this is completely unprecedented. We have never seen something like that. And also I liked how you brought up gold, because gold, I can already take that away, is connected to the Bitcoin price prediction model we are going to introduce to you today. You will be very familiar with that, and I can already promise you, you will like it if you like the stock to flow model. And I want to come to that after this small thing here about the stock to flow model. So everyone who has the stock to flow model in mind, I will just show it here in the screen. You know that it was predicting a price of approximately $1,000, then $10,000 for the last cycle, and for the up and coming cycle with the Bitcoin breakout right now towards the upside, it predicts the mean price, the average price of $100,000 for the next 4 years. However, I think with these unprecedented actions from the Federal Reserve and all the other central banks in the world, with printing much more currency than even before within the last 40-50 years, which was already crazy, then maybe the US dollar denominations will be a little bit off within the next 4 to 8 years, because 100,000 within the next 4 years might be completely different in terms of purchasing power as to what we can buy for 100,000 US dollars today. So what I thought, and I found this on this one website, digitalic.net, I will leave you the link down in the description down below. I know that you use this website also every now and then, is this stock to flow model, but not Bitcoin denominated in US dollars, but Bitcoin denominated in ounces of gold. And so far it looks very similar to the stock to flow model, but what I actually think is, with all this money printing, and of course Bitcoin, gold will be one of the beneficiaries of that, I think Bitcoin measured in ounces of gold will be much more accurate, especially when you want to see how much can you actually buy for one Bitcoin in 4 years, in 8 years, in 12 years. And before I ask you, Carl, about that, I wanted to know from everyone here right now. Smash up the like button if you think that Bitcoin can reach at least $1 million within the next, let's say, 6 years. Smash up the like button for that video. I would be interested in that. And Carl, of course, you know the Bitcoin stock to flow model measured in gold. I wanted to know from you, before we are going into the specific price prediction this model has for 4 years and in 8 years, I wanted to know from you, what is your opinion about that model? What is your prediction for Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I think it's a very interesting thing to measure Bitcoin against gold, because when you measure Bitcoin against the US dollar, then you need to realize that the US dollar is something that is always changing. The value of the dollar is changing. It's always falling because of inflation, and the inflation will just take off from here. We will see more and more, and I mean, we all know that there is a big threat of hyperinflation hanging in the air right now. So measuring anything against the US dollar, it's like having a ruler that you that you use to measure in school or whatever. You use these like measure for construction. If you use one of these things to measure a wall or something, and it starts changing as you are measuring,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to measure distance, because the measurement tool you're using is also changing at the same time. So and it's also, if you look at your watch, if your watch were always spinning around and doing circles and going back and forth, you cannot tell the time. And the US dollar is very similar like that. It's always changing. So when you measure value, you want to find something that is much more stable, less volatile, and that doesn't change over time. That's why gold is a much better way to measure value than the US dollar. And that's why I think that we really should take a look at this model, because I think it can hold a lot of significance, and only time will tell if it actually is going to be significant or not. But I really believe in the theory behind it, and yeah, so I think that's an interesting thing. And also, obviously, Bitcoin is, like I said, the only asset in the world that has an absolute scarce supply, which could make Bitcoin in the future the best measurement tool for value in the world.
Yep.
because it's the only asset in the world that doesn't get inflated. So hopefully, let's say 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, when Bitcoin is at millions of dollars and has soaked up all the value of money in the world, at that point, maybe Bitcoin is the world reserve currency. It is the money of the world. It is the foundation of the economy. And at that point, the volatility will be close to zero, or it will be much less than that of gold right now. I think that we will use Bitcoin as the measurement of value, and that would be huge, of course, because you don't really look at the price of Bitcoin anymore. You just look at the price of other things against Bitcoin. So
Yes.
very interesting.
Very good points, Carl. I really share your opinion about that. And something else I wanted to mention, this is obviously not a bash against Plan B. I am still a big fan of this model, and I actually think it carries a lot of significance. But what we could do, for example, for the stock to flow model, we could just base it on 2009 purchasing power and adjust the purchasing power parity for that and still use the US dollar measurement tool. However, I think the gold stock to flow model will carry a lot of significance, and just as trading altcoins against US dollar, you should trade them against Bitcoin. And if you have Bitcoin, you want to measure your Bitcoin gains maybe rather in gold than in US dollar. This is maybe an example which makes some sense. And before I'm going into the specific price prediction this gold stock to flow model, which you can see right here, carries, I wanted to know from you, Carl, what is your price prediction for Bitcoin? I don't know, in 5 years, in 8 years. Please let me know that about that, and also about the reasoning behind it.
So within 5-10 years, I really do believe that Bitcoin can reach $1 million. Within 10 years, I'm pretty confident that's going to happen, especially now that we see more and more currency printing. But I also see, so I just talked about this end game goal, if Bitcoin takes over all the money in the world, and if you just look at the value of all the money in the world, it's approximately $100 trillion. If Bitcoin were to take over this market cap, if Bitcoin were to just completely take over this, then that could put Bitcoin somewhere between $4 to $5 million. But I do also see that gold has a big part in this, and I guess gold and Bitcoin are going to have to fight for this market cap, and I see both as winners. I don't think that gold is going to zero. I don't think Bitcoin is going to zero. I think there will be some kind of balance here, and but I do see a potential scenario of $5 million for Bitcoin. That's pretty clear based on the environment we're seeing now, the money in the world, and the fact that they're printing so much money that the confidence in this currency supply will be lost very, very soon.
Yep. Perfect. And now we are maybe going into the price prediction of the model. Your price prediction is already extremely bullish. This model already predicts a little bit higher prices, but the reasoning behind it and the fundamental reasons as to why this is possible make a lot of sense to me. So if you go into the model and you go with your cursor, I will leave you the link down below also, over this model, you see that within the next cycle between 2020 and 2024, it predicts that Bitcoin will reach 75 ounces per Bitcoin. Right now we are at like 6 ounces per Bitcoin, 5.8 ounces per Bitcoin. And if you take, let's say, a gold price of $5,000, because of course if we predict the Bitcoin price to go up because of the monetary policy, then of course gold will also go up, especially gold will go up. Let's say gold reaches a price of $5,000. I mean, whatever. I cannot predict the gold price, but this is just playing around with numbers a little bit. Then at 75 Bitcoin per ounces of gold per Bitcoin, that would put Bitcoin at, don't want to make a calculation mistake, I think $325,000 as the mean price for the next 4 years. Of course, this is overwhelmingly bullish, and I want to come to your opinion about that, whether it's possible or not. But before that, I want to go 4 years more into the future, and here's where it gets a little bit unrealistic in my opinion. But this model is probably not perfect yet. I think digitalic.net did it, but we could adjust it to the downside, since especially measured in gold, Bitcoin will have, in my opinion, diminishing returns to scale percentage wise over time every 4 years. But this one predicts 900 ounces per Bitcoin. That would put Bitcoin at a $10,000 gold price in 10 years, which is for gold not too unrealistic, at $9 million already. Of course, we need a lot of inflation for that. We need even more money printing, and it would not be in today's purchasing power, obviously. Well, guys, and once again, playing a little bit with the numbers here, you can already see, in case Bitcoin would reach a $9 million per Bitcoin, that would put us at a 750x in today's US dollar denomination. So in other words, if you were to put in $1,500 worth of Bitcoin today, that would make you a millionaire if this prediction were to come true. Of course, not considering the underlying purchasing power here. But I think this is more on the unrealistic side. But if you adjust that to the downside to, let's say, 200 ounces at a $10,000 per ounce of gold, then that would be $2 million, which would be in 8 years, in my opinion, not unrealistic at all. And now, before we are wrapping it up for today's video, and also remember, as I said in the introduction, we made another video on Carl's channel. Make sure to check it out. It is in the pinned comment. I wanted to know from you, Carl, what do you think about the model, and specifically about the price predictions this model carries?
Yeah, so I already talked about how Bitcoin can reach $5 million, and stretching it up to 9 million isn't that big of a stretch. But yes, we have to of course consider all the currency printing. That is something that for sure will help Bitcoin go up in price. But we have to also yet again talk about the value. Is the value going to be 9 million, or is that just the price? Because if the US dollar has lost 50% of its value, if it lost 90% of its value, then Bitcoin might as well go to 30 million per Bitcoin. It can go to quadrillions of dollars per Bitcoin. But in today's purchasing power, I do believe in the $4 to $5 million price prediction. And actually, if you go into the total addressable market for Bitcoin, I mean, I talked about the $100 trillion worth of fiat currencies, but also if you look at the value of all real estate in the world, I think that's approximately $300 trillion. And I'm not saying that Bitcoin competes with real estate. However, there is a part of the value locked up in real estate that is used as a store of value, not as a home. So, I mean, most people, they buy a home to live in, and these people don't sell to buy Bitcoin. However, the people that buy a home simply to store a value instead of keeping it in the bank, these people, they probably would be interested in a more liquid way to store the value and a safer way to store the value with no third-party risk, which would be Bitcoin. So let's say only 20% of 300 trillion is just store of value, then this could be included in the addressable market for Bitcoin, and that would be further trillions that could flow into Bitcoin potentially when Bitcoin reaches these end goal scenarios. So $4 or $5 million is very possible, but actually even higher could also be possible in a big end game bubble scenario where basically everyone jumps into Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is on every news station everywhere, and everyone is just hyping it up, and basically everyone owns Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin will be overvalued at some point. I mean, it's currently extremely undervalued, but at some point in the future, I'm very sure that it will be extremely overvalued. It has to correct, and it will never ever reach those levels again. It will be like a big crash, and the top of this mountain, the top of this bubble could be extraordinary and astronomical, but also completely unreasonable probably.
Yep. Thank you so much for that. And guys, if you're watching that and your mind is not blown yet with these price predictions, which are at least in the room of possibilities, then I don't know what to do anymore, because my mind is blown after I saw this model. My mind is blown after I saw all these actions from the central banks. And I'm so happy to be here with you guys, to know the solution for all of that, to know how we can store our wealth properly here and how we can be set for the next 5 to 10 years, because what is to come is certainly something extremely crazy. So thank you so much everyone for watching. Thanks for coming back to my channel here. I mean, it's always amazing to have you here. And yeah, I hope everyone really goes over, watches the other collaboration. It is in the pinned comment down below. I really appreciate you guys supporting us here along the way. I see crazy likes popping in, like 4,000, 5,000 likes in every single video. It's completely crazy. I really want to take a few seconds to thank you so much for that. It is not going unnoticed. I'm reading off all of your comments. I cannot answer all of them. some of them, but I'm certainly reading all of them. So thank you so much for that, guys. It's really appreciated. Thanks, Carl, for coming back to the channel. It's always a pleasure. Do you have any last words to share before I'm wrapping it up for today?
No, thank you very much for keeping me here on the channel again. Let's do this again very, very soon.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. Smash up the like button if you want more of these collaborations. We will see each other on the other side here on the other channel. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Click the subscription box right here and click the subscription box right there. And as always, guys, as always, bye-bye.